Hello, sports fans and especially baseball fans, to the inaugural Diamond Kings edition of the Sports Kings Media Network. We're glad you could join us for about 30 minutes or so of sports talk, especially about baseball. We have with us today an expert panel of Sports Kings bloggers and sports fans. My name is David Whitlock. I'll be moderating the debate. With us, we have Michael Prosser from Florence, South Carolina. How are you doing, Michael?
What's up, guys? How's it going? God love the Braves. It's great to be a Brave right now. You just gotta love being a Braves fan. I
And
know I
Nationals
do.
are only 2 games behind you, so watch out there.
Bring it on.
From Dallas, Texas, we have Leroy McConnell III. How are you, Leroy?
Pretty good. How you guys doing, Sports King Riders?
All right. Glad you could join us. And finally, from Arkport, New York, it's Kelvin LaPierre.
How you guys doing? New York Yankees first in the AL East. That's all that matters.
That is right, sir. So let's get right into it. So we want to talk a little news, some opinion pieces. We definitely want to know what these guys are thinking. We got a good spectrum of National League, American League representation here. So let's start with the National League East, especially Bryce Harper and the Washington Nationals. As you're probably well aware, Bryce Harper went down again with another injury, this time a thumb, last year the knee. So what's the deal with Bryce Harper? Is he always going to be this way and injury prone? And what does this injury mean for the Nationals this year? As I talked about, they're only 2 games out in the National League East. So is this going to sink their campaign? It's a competitive division. And let's start with our expert in the South, Michael. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, obviously, anytime you lose somebody like a Bryce Harper, who is, on borderline phenom status, I don't think, especially, I mean, as of late, you've got all of these, the big time prospects coming up. But at the time, aside from Strasburg, I hadn't really heard of a guy, that hyped since, I don't mean to be biased here, but Chipper Jones in 1990. I mean, I was only like, a month old when he got drafted. But hey, I mean, you still kind of heard about it. But in a sense, anytime you lose a guy like Strasburg, especially if he's a big bat in your lineup, it's always a tough loss. Especially when your aces, your workhorses aren't really doing that well. I mean, Steven Strasburg hasn't really looked like Strasburg. Gio Gonzalez has been batted around a couple times. I mean, he kind of got hit harder than Ray Rice's wife. But, okay, that's another time, another tale.
Yeah.
But head on over to DC Sports Kings. That's www.sports-kings.com/DC Sports Kings. You can head on over there, check it out. We've got the whole layup about Harper and his DL stint, why he got benched, and if anything, if this thumb injury is going to do what it did to Jason Hayward, the Nats might be in some trouble because, honestly, Jason Hayward hasn't really recovered from it, and will Bryce Harper? I mean, we don't know.
Yeah, good points. Good points all around. We're not sure how serious. They're saying July, but it could be later than that. Leroy, your thoughts on the Harper situation? What do you think about him and the Nationals' chances and what that deals them?
Well, I'm not really sold on Harper. Harper he's self-inflicting. Everybody wants to compare him with Mike Trout. He's no Mike Trout. He has flashes, but he has no discipline. And obviously, the Nationals are missing his bat, but this was his second or third year now, and to me, he's still a baby. I mean, the Nationals cannot. They can't rely on him as the big bat. He's not mature enough right now. He's not ready. So right now, what does he have? 3 months? 6 weeks? 8 weeks? Well, I mean, right now,
6
this
to 8
part is
weeks.
bad for him right now. Is the fact that, he probably needs to mature, watch the game, and I'm not sold on Harper. I never have. He's hype right now.
He's killing my fantasy. I mean, I had him as a keeper on a fantasy team, and he has like 1 home run and 5 RBI. I mean, I'm like, I think Ike Davis has 2 grand slams this year and is out slugging Bryce
He had
Harper.
as many home runs as Elvis Andrews.
That's right. I mean,
Robinson Cano.
Right, yeah, among others. Speaking of Cano, let's go to our New York boy Kelvin. What do you think about the whole Bryce Harper? Is this the death knell for the Nationals? Are they going to be able to hang? And is this going to be the story of his career?
Well, if he's going to continue to hit like he is right now, 1 home run, 5 RBI, and I believe it's 1 stolen base all year, and we're a month in. With the talent they have behind him and Nate McLouth, and they have a younger guy down in AAA, Shane Rizzuto or something like that. He's a young gun, just like Bryce. He's just as young. 21, 20 years old. They have if he's gonna hit like that, you might as well leave McLaughlin there. I mean, McLaughlin's not gonna hurt you defensively. He's gonna strike out a lot, but Bryce Harper's a strikeout guy. If he's not hitting home runs, he strikes out. So they're not really losing anything. It's gonna come down to what their other role players on the team do. It's like when Derek Jeter went down last year with the Yankees, and that whole team went down. It's what do your younger players produce to step up? They got to prove that they can do it, and if they don't, then their season could be a struggle.
Yeah, I certainly agree. I like, I think it was Leroy's point about maybe he can learn something about watching for a little bit. He can still be a clubhouse leader, and there's some evidence from last year that he was a clubhouse leader, a guy that seems to be wanting to step up, kind of rah-rah, follow me, I'll run into walls, slide into bases at first. But, maybe he could, the silver lining is maybe he can sit around and watch the team and still be close to the guys. It's just a thumb injury. I hope he's back. I think he's got a lot of talent. I like his aggressive attitude, but I think the Nationals will be able to hang. I think the NL East is pretty open, but at the same time, the Braves are looking strong with the start. There's some other good teams there, so we'll have to watch as it goes.
Watch for Bryce Harper to put on a hand sleeve like Brett Gardner and Jacoby Ellsbury now have. He'll put on the hand sleeve for head first sliding.
Yeah, the sliding thing is a real problem. I know for the Astros, George Springer, their new prospect, likes to do it, and they're already trying to coach him out of it. Somebody else had a point.
Oh yeah, and let's not forget, the Nationals have help coming. Max Scherzer's supposed to be coming back within the next, week or two, I think it is. If not, maybe a little bit longer. If they can hold on, at least win, I don't know, maybe 55 to 60% of these games while Scherzer's out, they'd at least get pitching help to maybe curb the fact that they don't have a Bryce Harper. But guys like Ryan Zimmerman, Ian Desmond, they've got to step it up just a little bit more. Even a Jason Worth, man. I mean, you rarely hear about Jason Worth anymore. Everybody said when Jason Worth went to the Nationals were going to run away with the division every year that he's been in the lineup. And it hasn't really happened. So, they've got the pieces in play now to be contenders. Even with Harper out, they've still got, power bats around there. They just got to find the spot. They got to find it.
You got to remember, Jason Worth was not the man in Philly. He was just a piece. He was backing up Ryan
Victorino.
He wasn't the man, and then they get the big contract. He can't live up to it. He needs some support.
All right, we'll move on to the next subject. The Albert Pujols. I know for most of our adult lives, he has probably been the best right-handed hitter we've seen. Maybe Leroy and I go back a little farther and can remember some of the Mike Schmidts and dare I say Dale Murphys. But Albert Pujols got to 500 home runs. The dude is only 34 years old, and he's got, 7 years left on this mega contract. What do you guys think he'll be able to do in terms of career numbers? Is he going to get to 700? Is he going to get to 755? Is he going to get to 762? Those are some key numbers to look out for. He looks like he might be healthy this year. Is that going to continue? This time we'll start with Leroy. Your thoughts?
Well, Albert Pujols, for the first time since he's been in the Angels uniform, has been healthy, and that's been the key. He's got an eye. He's got a great eye, and he has some support once Josh Hamilton gets back. Expecting big things. He's hitting close around 300. 40 home runs is probably in reach, especially in the American League. I suspect that he can get close to 700. I don't think he's going to hit 700 because, like I said, the injuries, they're there, but I don't know.
Yeah,
it's in reach, but I don't think he'll get to it.
His body has been defying him until this year, but how long can it hold up? We're only a month into the season, so I got some doubts. What about you, Kelvin? What do you think about this?
I honestly understand why it's not a big deal anymore, 500. Like, everybody wanted it to be a huge, big deal. But growing up in the steroid era of baseball and him playing in the steroid era, never been caught or tested positive for steroids. But in the era, it's not a big deal. And I don't think we're going to make it a big deal anymore until somebody proves to hit 760 something home runs without it, but I don't think Albert's going to get there at all. I think he's going to be around 675 is where his career ends up, and that's if he stays healthy. If he goes back to batting what he did the last 2 years, he ends up around 590. He doesn't even get to 600 if he bats like he did the last two.
Years ago?
That's if he bats with like he did the last 2 years.
I mean, that's 10 home runs a season for.
Right. Well, if he can't play 3 of them, then that might add up. He's in a
You got to
wheelchair.
think, is he still going to be hitting 25 home runs when he's 38, 39, 40, and 41?
Probably hit 20.
He's up to 10 already this year.
Yeah, he got 10. But he can get more than 10 a year. 570. And he's at what, 503, 504 right now? Yeah,
No, I said 590. 590.
590.
590 if he doesn't stay healthy.
Well, good thing we're recording this. We can come back in 7 years and figure it out. Michael, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, like Kelvin said, growing up in the steroid era, seeing guys like, I remember when, Mark and Sammy went at it, and I think it was summer of '98 or whatever. That was a big thing for me as a kid. I was 8 years old, glued to my TV like all the time, watching Mark and Sammy slug it out. So, it's kind of nice to see a guy like Albert Pujols who's never been, not even a rumbling of steroid talks, which is refreshing, especially in this era, because, everybody starts – you get a guy that hits 40 home runs always automatically on steroids. That's not the case with this guy. But 650 is totally within your reach. 675 is actually, a good number. I'm saying 660 because, even, let's say in a couple years, Mike Trout gets better, Josh Hamilton's, still Josh Hamilton. People are going to start pitching around. People might actually start giving Albert Pujols the Barry Bonds treatment to where they just walk the heck out of him all the time. So, 660 is it sounds logical.
Yeah, I believe this last weekend I saw a intentional walk to Mike Trout to get to Pujols, and I was thinking, in my lifetime, I would never walk to get to Pujols, but Mike Trout being Mike Trout, I can see that. So it'll be interesting. I'll go on record. I think he is going to break Barry Bonds' record. I'll put it down right now.
That is 260 more home runs. That's 260.
260, 7 years. That's 30 to 35 to 40. Yeah, book it. He can sign another contract after that too.
he could play till he's 45. I mean, why not?
He's the Omar Vizquel of our era, man. It's totally gonna happen.
The
No,
problem
he's the
is
Amir Yager of our era.
he's booked at about 34
God, I love
years.
that guy.
There's rumors that he's actually 38, but that's a different debate for a different time. So now that's kind of the news portion of the program. Let's move over to just some thoughts. We're a month into the season now. You don't want to look too much into the standings yet. I think Memorial Day is the classic time. You kind of stop, look, really assess what teams are doing. I mean, you obviously know that the Houston Astros are out of it already, which is a detriment to me. But you obviously know teams like the Yankees, the Braves, the Cardinals are going to be in it for the long haul, no matter what the record is now. But I'd like to hear from each of you. What is your surprise team so far? And I kind of mean in that, not what they've done so far, but a team that you think that can continue that, along with a team that's disappointing and it doesn't look like they're going to get untracked and get corrected. So 2 teams, a team that's surprising and a team that's disappointing. This time we'll start with Kelvin. What you got?
I got the Milwaukee Brewers with the best record right now. They're hitting the ball well. Their pitching's great. I believe their pitching staff ERA is 3.14 for 5 starters. Braun just decked their all-star shortstop or second baseman in the face with a bat, and he's now day-to-day with a right eye contusion. But if they continue to hit and they continue to pitch the way they're pitching, I think they run away with that division, and it's a mess and it's a landslide. But with a young team in the postseason, I don't know, but we're gonna wait and see and talk about that future down the road. My most disappointing team right now, Pittsburgh Pirates. All that hype on them last year, finally breaking that 21 seasons without making it to the postseason, and then you start the year off with a dud. Where is McCutchen been? McCutchen's swinging and missing a lot. He's popping out. It's just a mess in Pittsburgh. They're losing A.J. Burnett on that pitching staff, I think, hurt them a lot when he went to Philly because he's pitching really good in Philly right now. I think he's 2-1 with a 2.50 ERA in 4 starts for Philly. But I with Pittsburgh, I wouldn't have paid him $15 million for 1 year. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, just a note on the Pirates. They have one more win than the Houston Astros right now. One more win than the Houston Astros. So, and I don't know, it might have been playing a doubleheader today, and they probably got swept by Baltimore. Over to Michael. What do you got?
Well, I have to agree with Kelvin. I've been very impressed with this Milwaukee team. I mean, 28-8 in April. It's the not only is it probably the best record in the major leagues, but it's also a record for the best start in team history. Giovanni Gallardo was lights out in opening day. He struck out, I think it was like 7. But I mean, the Braves were swinging and missing at anything at that point. But I mean, Gallardo's been great. Ryan Braun gets a standing ovation. His first at bat after the demonizing steroid ordeal that he went through that, I didn't really see coming until it actually happened. But, him plugging Gene Segura, that was just kind of bad luck. But they'll get over that. But, I mean, disappointing, I have to give a tie aside from Pittsburgh. It's a tie for me because the Red Sox, the Boston Red Sox,
defending champions,
world champions, had it not been for the Tampa Bay Rays, would be in the cellar of the AL East. Where there's losing Jacoby Ellsbury has put a massive hole in their leadoff spot. They've been injured, I get that, but Clay Buchholz has got to pitch better. Don Lackey is outstanding. But like I said, Buchholz has got to be better. They get Shane Victorino back. He's got to get into his full swing and everything like that. You got a guy like Jackie Bradley Jr., who's a guy who may be able to fill some spots. But it's disappointing to see a world champion have such a slow start out of the gate. And speaking of a Boston guy, Terry Francona's Cleveland Indians. Horrid. Justin Masterson has 0 wins right now. Count them. 1, 2, 3. No, 0. They have 5 wins from their starters altogether. Their bullpen has been all right, but you can't rely on the bullpen the entire time. Just ask the Atlanta Braves. Nick Swisher has been absent. Carlos Santana was hit. I think he's hitting under the Mendoza line. Very erratic. I think he was hitting 193 before that 2-run homer the other night, and I think he's still, hitting in like the 198 range. There's just Michael Bourne has been, inconsistent. They need to right that ship quickly because if you get behind that Detroit team and how powerful that Detroit team is, even with the Chicago White Sox playing pretty decent right now, you get behind early, you're not getting back.
Let's not forget who's second in that division right now, and it's not Chicago. It's Kansas City. Kansas City's playing well.
See? Kansas City, like nobody expects that either. But still, I mean, you fall behind, you're out.
I was thinking the Indians, and I think they've lost like 6 straight. I think they were like 11-11, have lost 6 straight. So I don't know if it's a temporary spell, but I've got a lot of questions with this Swisher. Like everybody on this conference call has as many wins as Justin Masterson, so that can't be good. Leroy, your thoughts?
Sign me up, Cleveland.
Problem is, to me, Kansas City. Kansas City has the second or third best pitching staff in the major. So
yes, they do.
3.2 ERA. And they're the team that you don't know one player on the team. Catcher Salvador.
Hosmer. I know like a
Hosmer.
Hosmer, but like I said, Omar Infante sitting there batting over 400 early on, and he's kicking some butt. Of course, the Pittsburgh, of course, would be my dud. I don't understand what's wrong with Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay usually has good pitching. They're struggling this year, but once again, they're in the American League East. But back to Kansas City, the funny thing about the American League Central, and they beat up on the American League West a lot.
Yeah, they swept the Astros.
The thing about them, when they win, they're a game out of first place. When they lose, they're still a game out of first place. Everything's real tight. I think Kansas City will give Detroit a run for their money throughout the whole season. So,
yeah.
I'd love to see that happen.
I would too, just for the city.
That'd be great.
Yeah, the Royals were kind of a vogue underground pick because a lot of people look at the young talent they had. Especially, they got a really, really strong bullpen.
I just wish they can get a bat.
They got a strong farm system too.
Right. They ought to go out and get a bat at the trade deadline. I mean, assuming they're still in it, and who knows? They could sneak into a wild card and wreak some havoc.
It's plausible.
Right.
Remind you of the. Maybe we'll see a Pine Tar game, Volume 2. You know.
Or bread.
Back, the Royals and Yankees. Now that was a big rivalry in the early '80s. I mean, those two teams went at it. But let's go back now. We've talked teams. Let's talk individuals. I'd like to hear from each of you a surprising individual, somebody you've seen that stepped up that you didn't expect. So don't tell me Albert Pujols, because Albert Pujols has been Albert Pujols. and okay, Jose Abreu. Everybody can already say it now or not, but who else? Who's a certain player that a pitcher or a batter that stepped up? And we'll go back to Kelvin. What do you think?
Oh, I just blanked on his name. And he's on the Yankees. He's on the Yankees too. That's the sad thing.
Mark Teixeira, not quite.
No, Mark Teixeira. He's hit 2 home runs.
Right.
Because no, he's replacing.
No, forget that guy.
He's replacing Nunez. Yeah. See, he's having such an impactful year. It just slipped out of my brain. I can't remember who it is.
Yeah, you yourself a Yankees fan.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll come back to you. How about Leroy? What do you got, Leroy?
What's the kid from Colorado? Blackman?
Yep, Blackman.
Blackman?
Charlie Blackman.
The focus has always been on Cargo and Tulowitzki with Blackman. Who plays? I mean, he pretty much took Kadari's spot out and out for, didn't he?
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's batting over 370, 5 home runs, 18 RBIs. I know he's in Colorado, but like I said, hey, I mean, he's leading the National League in hitting, so he's a big surprise. No one knew who he was. Picked him up on my fantasy team.
Nice call. What you got, Michael? Who's your pick?
You guys are going with all these young guns. I'm going with a wily veteran in Aaron Harang. Now, I know he got beat up last night, just brutally abused last night. I get that, but before that, he had a sub-1 ERA, and he was coming off of a 5-12 last year in Petco Park. But I know, let's face it, nothing is ever anything good in Petco Park, because it's so pitcher friendly that nobody can get offense there. I get that, but if you guys are going, but yeah, Aaron Harang has just been really impressed, because I was not happy with the signing at all. I knew that we were going to be having some injury troubles with Chris Medlin being out. Mike Minor's coming back tomorrow night against the Giants, so that's always some help. But signing Harang, I was like, man, this is going to suck. And he comes in and he just he's been mowing people down. He looks like Aaron Harang from Cincinnati. It was great. But if we're talking young guns, Jose Fernandez, this Jose Fernandez kid from Miami, unreal. 17 Ks in 2 starts. Yeah, 17 Ks in 2 starts against Atlanta. The guy was Rookie of the Year last year. This guy's got Cy Young written all over him for years to come. This kid is a dominant pitcher. And if Nathan Eovaldi continues to get quality starts, if this Marlins team can string together wins, if they can get Eovaldi run support, because the guy had like the 4th worst run support in baseball last season. If they can get this guy run support, guys like Casey McGehee are starting to step up now after spending some time in Japan. Garrett Jones, who's I've always been a big Garrett Jones fan for some odd reason, he's stepping up now. This Marlins team could scare some people. They scare me.
They scare Atlanta.
It's a wild. Do not be surprised if they get into the wild card
this year. I don't know.
Well, they got 2 wild card slots. It could happen
this year. It is very possible.
Together.
I got it. Yanharnis Solarte.
I forgot that name.
Yeah.
7 years with 3 different minor league teams. He's batting over 325 with the New York Yankees right now in the month of April. How did anybody – he was with the Texas Rangers. He was with the Minnesota Twins. How did they not see the potential in this guy? He's second in the American League in doubles hit. He's batting 326, 327. He's got the most multi-hit games on the Yankees right now. And his on-base percentage is like 378, and this is technically his rookie year in the major leagues, and he slipped through the cracks in 3 different farm clubs. Texas Rangers were his last farm club, and they let him go.
Well,
Can you
And he
can you
signed with
pronounce
the
that name
Yankees.
again?
Jan Harness Solarte.
Jan
Yeah,
Harness
he-
Solar. Dude, that is awesome.
Leroy, any thoughts on how did your Rangers blow this guy?
Well, heck, Elvis got Garrison Folk farming. We didn't need him.
Yeah, you got Beltray.
He plays second base.
We got
Well,
Profar
no wonder
when
you
he
didn't
ever
need
gets
him.
back.
Jurickson Profar's.
If
Second base. He can play
thank you.
anywhere in the infield, and he plays outfield.
Oh,
But
so he's the
he's
Steve
primarily in-
Lombardozzi.
Oh, I mean,
He
before
basically
that, we had
plays
Ian
everywhere.
Kinsler. He wasn't going to take like this. Only place he could have played with first base for Texas Rangers. Man. He's not a first
Well,
base.
you could have put him. You could have stuck him over at third when you
Beltray's there.
got rid of. You got rid of. You didn't have him before. You had Michael
Beltray's
Young.
hurt all the time too.
He needs some
You had Young. You went out. You needed to get pop, but in
Hey,
that
hey,
ballpark, it's hard to
has
hit
been
homers.
the best free agent the Rangers have picked up. And he has worked every dollar he made. That $96 million contract, he has earned every dollar of it.
I'm declaring next week we're going to talk Adrian Beltre Hall of Fame candidacy because I got into a
Yes.
debate about the guy, and you laugh, and his numbers are actually
Yes.
pretty good for a third.
They're there, but
We'll have to get him a
it's-
jacket like Ocho Cinco had. 2000 question mark.
Right.
He'll make it.
So
Best defensive third baseman, too.
we're going to move to Kelvin's bonus question, which he posted on Facebook when we were organizing this show, and that has to do with Tommy John surgery. What the heck is up with all the pitchers going down with Tommy John surgery? Is it workload? Is it mechanics? Is it the Winter League, the Arizona League? What do you think? And we'll start with Kelvin since he introduced the subject.
31. Remember that number. 31 pitchers in April alone have already gone under the knife for Tommy John surgery. Last year, 1. Brian Wilson, 1. No, it was Matt Harvey last year,
Right.
and then Brian Wilson had it in the summer of 2012. Before that, you have to go back to Adam Wainwright to have Tommy John surgery. 31 pitchers already this year have had Tommy John surgery. Where does it happen? The younger generation that starts in Little League. They're throwing curveballs, sliders, fastballs. Watch the Little League World Series. They're throwing that junk there. When I was in Little League, it was strictly fastball, changeup. That's all your coaches allowed you to throw. Now they're throwing this stuff early. They're not throwing it right. It's tearing their arm apart. Then when they get to the majors, they correct it, and the damage is already there. It's just a fact of when it's going to go. So they need to get rid of it in Little League. Don't throw it until you're in high school. Throw a curveball when you're in high school. Slider doesn't really do much. It's not on your elbow. It's the curveball you need to watch. Curveball, I never threw it until I got to high school. I didn't, and now I throw a curveball, fastball, and a changeup. That's all I throw. So it starts in Little League. Watch the Little League World Series, and you're going to see it. And the fact of the MRI, I mean, you're seeing everything now. You get stiffness in your forearm, you're going for an MRI. They find something there, you're on the DL for 15 days. So, but it starts in Little League. Throwing a curveball in Little League should be banned because they're not throwing it right.
Interesting call. What do you think, Michael?
Well, I mean, obviously, it almost seems like an epidemic. Almost, it's like the rage of the Tommy John surgery. I get the fact why it's happening. If it's a necessary thing, great. If it's doing it as a precaution so something else doesn't happen, I can see that too. That's fine. As long as you need it and you want to do it, go for it. But I think it's causing general managers now and managers and things like that to have I think they're starting to prepare for things like this. They've got guys in the bullpen that they can use as a spot starter. To maybe even give a guy off. That way, just in case something happens, they can throw this guy in. They've got prospects in AAA that they can, go. It is the number though is kind of baffling.
Staggering,
31. That is ridiculous. And I mean, you got guys like Ivan Nova, Chris
Matt
Medlin, Matt Moore, especially a guy like Matt Moore. That was one of the first ones.
That's
that
where
jumped out
Tampa
to me.
Bay's struggle started, right
That
there.
is the first. I was just about to make that point. That seemed to be the first time. As soon as I saw it come across the ticker on ESPN, I was like, "Yeah, that's probably not going to go well for Tampa Bay." But at the same time, if it happens, if it's a necessary thing, Dr. James Andrews knows how to do it. He's done it. I mean, a lot of these guys come back from it and have fantastic, seasons. I remember when John Smoltz had it in, I want to say it was like '02 or something. He came back.
2001, 2002.
Yeah, he came back the next year and just was lights out. I think that was like the first year he was a starter again, and he was lights out. I think he even incorporated the knuckleball at some point, which is another thing. You got guys like Tim Wakefield, and you got a guy like R.A. Dickey right now who are throwing this knuckleball, who are pitching into their 40s. I mean, why don't more people throw the knuckleball?
There's probably time needed for that. Leroy, any following thoughts?
Is the curveball the only ball? Is that the reason why they're getting Tommy John surgery? Is it from the curveball?
Seems to be a driving
It's
benefit.
from the main thing that it tears your UCL is the inaccurate throw of the curveball. You're supposed to flick your wrist, but in Little League, if you watch, you'll see them using their elbow and flicking the wrist. It's all supposed to be just in the wrist. They're using their elbow, and it's not in the right arm slot.
Okay.
They're coming out to the side, so it's.
Is there a right and wrong way of throwing it?
It's more over the top. You want to be over the top with the curveball, and they're coming out over the side using their elbow and their wrist. If you watch the Little League World Series this year over the summer, you'll see it. It's their curveball is starting over like this. In the pros, they get it back to like this. Like you're supposed to flip your wrist with it.
So in other words, these idiots need to learn how to throw a curveball. One. And I mean, it's bad enough that Major League ball players are on a pitch count anyway. So, I mean, that's just telling me, look, they need to either learn how to throw the curveball right or don't throw it at all. I mean, that would be
that's what I'm saying is Little League, your body's not developed in Little League.
But you're saying
when you're in high school.
Let
that develop. Let your body and arm develop, and then learn to throw that curveball. Don't throw it when you're little, because your body's not fully developed, and you're just stretching that out, and you're going to make it so where it's going to stretch too far, and then it's going to pop. And that's exactly what happens. Get to high school. Don't throw it in modified. Start playing around with it in pitching practice in modified, but don't throw it till you're in JV actually competing for something. Like, they got to ban that pitch in Little League. In my opinion, that's what's causing this. I never was taught the curveball by a coach in Little League, and now these kids, 12, 11 years old, are out there throwing. They're allowed to throw, I believe, 75 pitches a game with a day off in between, and they can, if they don't meet their 75, they can only pitch a max of 6 innings a week. And with them throwing that curveball, most of the pitches they throw are curveballs because the strike zone's so wide in Little League that they're getting that extra wide strike zone on the outside, so they'll throw a fastball there, then it's 2 straight curveballs to get a guy to chase. It's bad. It's probably 30 pitches a game are curveballs, and I just don't like it. And that's what I think's leading to this, is it's that generation that's just starting to get up into the AAA, because most of these players are in AAA and AA having the surgery, but they're still on the Major League roster. So it's 31 players, and they're that generation getting there. They're 25 to 22, 21, 18, 19 years old. So they're that generation that grew up with the curveball in Little League, and they didn't throw it right.
All right. So my last question is going to be a little bit off of baseball. Big horse race this weekend, Kentucky Derby. I hope you guys all did your homework, look at the racing form. I'd like to hear an exacta box out of all you guys. And what that means is pick 2 horses, finish in any order, but they got to finish 1, 2, and then tell me why. We'll start with Michael. Do you got any horses for us?
Yeah, what's the one that Calvin? What was that? Wicked, whatever it was.
Wicked Strong.
Yeah, I like that one because it sounds cool.
Yeah, Wicked Strong. You got any second choice?
And give me Vickers Trouble. 1,
Oh,
2.
you would take 2 of my 3.
Hey, you're the one that suggested I take 2 of your 3.
I know,
Yeah,
don't worry. I got them in a complete different order.
Hey,
We're okay.
I haven't seen the Kentucky Derby since Giacomo ran it, so I mean, that was the last Kentucky Derby I sat down and watched because I've worked a lot of Saturdays, so I'm kind of hosed on that one. But you guys have all the mint juleps and Derby cake. You guys, have throw a few back for me.
I will do it till I puke. How about you, Leroy?
Well, if you know anything about the Kentucky Derby, it's always a long shot.
There you go.
So you have to
Vickers
have
in Trouble is a long shot.
party 50-1 odds.
Oh,
Barely
50-1.
sniffing out Chrome. So your exacta is We Miss Artie and California Chrome. That's your exacta.
So you're taking California Chrome, one of the favorites.
Well, of course he's gonna be at the top, but he's gonna get edged
Right.
up by the long shot.
You gotta mix that long shot in. All right, Kelvin, what do you think?
I got Danza finishing number 1, followed by Wicked Strong.
Yeah, Wicked Strong. All right. Well, to wrap it up, it's clear to me that Vickers in Trouble is an awesome pick. Rosie Napravnik. Has anybody seen this fiery little redhead girl? She's the jockey. She's gonna give boys some trouble. And I'm going with my other favorite jockey, Calvin Borel. Calvin Borel, he usually is on the one slide. He's on the 19 on Riding on Curlin. You will recognize Curlin as a previous successful horse in this race. And Borel knows how to, he always ends up at the top. I don't know how he does it. So I'm going Rosie, Calvin, Vickers in Trouble, and Riding on Curlin.
Hey, what's the Bob Baffert horse in this race, if there is one?
There was, I believe that Opportunity from Baffert has been scratched.
It did get scratched. He was scratched. I looked at it. He got scratched this morning.
He's been kind of like off his game in the last few years. Like, I remember, I used to watch the Derby with my dad. My grandparents would come down for it every once in a while. And it was always Baffert this, Baffert that. Baffert hit, so-and-so with a baseball bat. And now all of a sudden I'm like, all right, well, what happened to Bob, man? What about Bob?
He's got another horse in there, Cheetu, that's not as favored.
It's not a very strong horse.
Nah, nobody likes Cheetu.
He's lost his game, man.
Yeah. So, well, hey, I appreciate you guys joining me, Kelvin, Leroy, and Michael. This has been a great inaugural show. I think we had a good time. I think we talked some good subjects. We'll have to talk a little Adrian Beltre Hall of Fame case next time. There's plenty of news that will happen between now and then. But in the meantime, thanks again for joining us, and we hope that you tune in next week. Follow us at sports-kings.com. We've got all the blogs, be it DC Sports Kings, the baseball blog, Reading Between the Seams. We've got a New York blog, New York Sports Kings. We've got football, basketball, hockey. You definitely want to tune in. Follow our Real Sports Kings on Facebook and keep in track with us, and we'll see you next time.
Have a good one.